Ladies and gentlemen, those between and those far out, longtime viewers and newcomers alike, welcome back to the Idaho Esports Twitch channel. My name is Kaz Phoenix, and thank you again for joining me at the Vandal Analyst Corner for our pre-show interview. Today, I'm joined by volunteer, ambulance driver for the Moscow Fire Department, Dan Ewart. Dan, welcome to the couch.
Thanks, Kaz. Appreciate that.
I appreciate to have you here. He's more formally known as the Chief Information Officer for the University of Idaho. Has been working here for about 13 years now.
That's right. That is the day job, is the Chief Information Officer role. Yep.
Which I have some question to ask about that a little bit later, because I'm curious about how you participate in those two fields of work. But
sure.
I will, as I like to say on the show, more formally hand the talking stick over to you. Allow you to introduce yourself more formally to our audience, talk about anything that you feel is necessary for them to know, but, you know, mostly just about your job and stuff like that.
No, that sounds great, Kaz. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, my name's Dan Ewart. I'm the Vice President of IT and the Chief Information Officer for the university. So what that means is my team, which is a great team, has responsibility for technology across the state, from fixing desktops to servers to storage to networks and all of the things in between. So we have about 95 people on the team that do that across the state.
Wow.
We also employ 40 to 50 students at any one time. So we have lots of great opportunities for our student employees, and they do such a fabulous job for us. It's great.
So the IT stuff isn't entirely sustained in the Moscow campus. Is it against like other campuses across Idaho?
Yep, that's correct. The University of Idaho has locations in 42 out of 44 Idaho counties.
Wow.
And so we provide support at all of those locations, plus extension centers and things like that. So yeah, about 60 different locations across the state we provide support.
That seems daunting.
You know what? There's a lot of driving, and sometimes it's in the winter, but we've learned to do a lot remotely, and we try to do the best job we can for our customers.
Any big trips that you've made for jobs this winter or incoming winter, I guess?
My job's not to fix the computers anymore, but that's okay. So we've got a lot of people that do that now, but I do travel across the state to see our locations and some of the unique challenges. As the university has computers and equipment and connectivity in everything from ranches to forests to farms to dairies to office buildings, right? And so it's a mixed environment, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad it is. I'm a bit of a technology buff myself, so I not maybe to the extent of IT. I've heard some horror stories about IT that make me step away from it a little bit, but I'm glad that you've been able to call IT, at least at the University of Idaho, your home for at least the last 13 years, right? You've been working in IT for a while.
Yep.
As I know, you've been working mostly in executive IT. I don't know if there was like a tree that you had to climb, either in a university here or in any other higher educations that you worked at, because I know you used to work at the University of Wyoming as well,
that's right.
As their director of IT.
Mm-hmm. I think we all climb trees, right?
Well, for sure, yeah.
I started out as out of college. I got a degree in management information systems from the University of Wyoming. Went out and did programming for a few years. Found that what I really loved to do in the computer industry was project management and user support. So started to specialize more and more in that. Was able to join the University of Wyoming and get into higher education, and that's my home as long as I get to have it for. I love the mission of higher education and what we do, and getting to meet people like you. Been doing that ever since, and in roles that have gone up a little bit, but the Chief Information Officer is just the role that I wanted. It's something I've been working for a long time, and I'm glad to have it.
Well, it's super awesome to hear. And you had that position for a while, but from my understanding, you weren't always the VP of IT, right? I think you got your position as CIO first.
That's right. Yeah, so the universities have lots of different positions and titles and things like that. So yeah. I've been the Chief Information Officer here for the last 13 years. I became a vice president about 9 years ago, and I've held a couple of different roles. I've always been the Chief Information Officer, but I've also been the interim vice president for finance for the university, and I was the vice president for infrastructure as well, which included IT and facilities and public safety and things like that. So I know my way around the university now, and the other part of my job is we call it the town gown relationship. So it's I know it's kind of a funny title, but it's it's understanding the needs of the community that we're in, the city and the county, knowing the elected officials, and being a conduit for information flow between the university and those government entities. And I really enjoy that. I get to meet a lot of really neat people, and because this community we're in Moscow is really special.
So it almost seems like you're like in a non-governmental like diplomat for the University of Idaho in some way.
I think there's some diplomacy involved, yeah, but no, we're lucky to have a lot of really good people out here to work with, and of course we're all members of this community too, so we need to take that part of it seriously.
Exactly. It's something I tell a lot of people when they ask me about like why I go to school here. And something I love about the University of Idaho is that it's so intertwined with the city, which is great for a lot of things. I come from LA, big city boy.
Okay.
So very, very different environment here, but for the better, right? Everything's super close. I don't have to drive super far to get places, which I'm a big fan of. But I also just feel like everything feels so tight knit. Like I see people that I go to class with, like when I'm out in town doing things, and I'm like, I know these people, and I care about these people because maybe half because I'm in proximity of them, but it's just like it's like our thing of being in this part of Moscow is that like we're all here together, probably going to school.
I couldn't say it better. You know, the university is dependent on the city of Moscow, and the city of Moscow is dependent on the university, and I love that community aspect. We got great places to eat. You see people everywhere you go, and yeah, the commute doesn't bother me either. I love being 5 minutes away from work. Doesn't happen in LA very often.
No. Closest I got was walking to school every day. I was fortunately close enough to do that, but outside of that, you want to go see a movie? Public transit everywhere. Which that was a cool system in and of itself. But enough about LA. Let's talk more about you and where you come from. Are you from Wyoming, or did you just go there?
You know, as much as I am from anywhere. You know, I was born in Ohio. I grew up in London, England. Actually, I lived there for 10 years when I was a child, from when I was 5 until I was 15. And then we came back to Wyoming when my parents retired, and I went to high school and college in Wyoming. Ended up getting actually a master's degree at the University of Wyoming when I worked there. So I've got my education from the University of Wyoming. I'm proud of it, but I have a son who's a vandal graduate, and a couple other kids who are busy working their way around.
Well, it sounds like a nice time, but it seems like you've been in, I think, like quite a variation of places. Like London, I would not say is very similar to Wyoming.
No.
And maybe there are some similarities between Wyoming and Idaho, but like I feel like they stand as very unique locations on their own. Would you say that you have a preference over one or the other?
Wow, I've also lived in Dubai for a year.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
I worked at a startup university there, so I've been around a little bit. They all just have such different cool aspects to them. London is such a beautiful old metropolitan city, right? Dubai, the new shining city, right? And then you've got Moscow with the small community where you know everybody when you go to the grocery store. I don't know that I have a distinct preference. I love the aspects of all of them, and I still love to travel around to big cities and see new things. And no, I don't think I have any preferences.
Oh. That is the
of
safe.
Course I love Moscow. I mean, of course I love the University of Idaho, right?
I was like, it was like the proper PR response for that.
You gotta ping me a little bit here, make sure I give the right response. I gotta look good, right?
Oh yeah. Well, the reason I asked that is because I've talked to a lot of people on the show that are from other parts of the country, as close as being from Boise or Moscow, like residents their entire lives, to being from like Minnesota or something like that, right? Come all the way to Idaho for different reasons. What encouraged you to come out here and also stay? Because again, you've been here for quite a while.
Right. Well, this is the classic example of the job brought me here. I wanted to be a chief information officer, so this was a step up for me to come do this. I wanted to come to a university with the reputation like the University of Idaho has. What's kept me here is the community, to be perfectly honest with you. I love the school and I love my job, but we have raised 4 kids in this community. My wife and I are very, very happy here, and that's a big part of staying. When you find a home, it's nice to stay. And you mentioned earlier the volunteer fire department. That's just for both my wife and I are members of the department, and it's a way for us to give back to the community that I think's given us a lot.
Well, that is a very beautiful response. Speaking of your involvement with the fire
Mhm.
department, it is not your only. I mean, you're not like particularly an EMT. I think
No,
maybe.
I drive an ambulance.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yeah, but it's not your only experience in a medical field. You were also on the board of trustees for a local hospital in Laramie.
that's correct. Yeah, I was at for the hospital there in Laramie. I was also on the board at the hospital here. Part of my job here and part of my giving back to the community is being involved in a number of local nonprofit boards. So I've been on the board at the Pullman Moscow Regional Airport. I've been on Smart Transit Board, which is the transportation system here. The Economic Development Agency was here. So I've done a lot of those kinds of things over time.
It seems like you've also found yourself in a lot of executive positions. Maybe that is because of your nature for just like liking project management. It feels like being in executive positions just naturally suits that. But where did you, or I guess when did you kind of realize that that was where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I was working. Yeah, I mean, I even remember the moment that I wanted to be able to do that. I was working on a big IT project in Ohio at a big steel mill, and I was getting to work with people who were just amazing programmers, and I was doing programming as well. And I looked at what they were doing, and I looked at what I was doing, and I said, "Wow, they're way better at this than I am." Right? But where I was really good was working with the users and understanding what they needed and translating that into something that we could then program. And that's what kicked it off for me, is being on that business analysis and project management side of the house. And I'm glad I made that choice. It's something that I feel that I'm good at, that I can do well, and that I can help others while I'm doing it. But I get to work with a lot of really cool technical people who do stuff that I do not understand. Some things I do understand, but a lot of things I don't understand. And I'm glad to have them doing those things because they're good at it.
That makes sense. And it's like keep everybody at the positions that they're good at.
Yep.
And again, you've absolutely found like your thing that you were good at, and have really stretched it far. 13 years is I don't know what percent of my life. This is not the math show. Every freaking episode
over 50%.
over
Right?
50%.
Over 50%. Now, I've been in IT now my entire career. I mean, I got my degree in management information systems, and I've been in IT this entire time. So I'm glad I found my home doing that.
Well, speaking of homes, I've said that a lot. Speaking of things, but speaking of homes, you've been here for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
You work with students to a certain degree, whether if it's
Yeah.
directly or between the people that you manage. So I would like to ask if you have any words to any prospective U of I students who are either kind of interested in the work that you do or interested in coming here in general, if you have any kind of message to encourage them one way or another.
For sure. I mean, Moscow is a great place to live, and in our campus, it's a great place to go to school. So, I mean, that's obvious, right? We're here, we're doing that job. But I think what I would tell prospective students is come to wherever you decide to go, get involved. Do something like what you're doing, Kaz. Do something, be a part of a club, be a part of an environment where you get to know people and get to engage in the things that you really like to do. You'll get so much more out of your education if you do that. And I think you'll have more enjoyment, and you'll just be a happier person when you find that thing that you like, because at a university like ours, there's other people that like it too. And so there's a great way to build some community.
You are so good at these answers. I love throwing these at you. They're so good. But I also agree, right? I feel like I heard that a lot when I was thinking about coming to college, as just like get involved. You're not getting anything out of your time here if you're just going to class and getting out. It is more beneficial for the student to, actually be involved in the community around them in one way or another, either join a club or society, getting involved in Greek life, like trying to enrich your experience as a human being while you are having some time off from having a fully adult, right?
I don't know. I think you're pretty good at these answers too. I think that's exactly right.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you being at the couch. Was the couch comfortable?
The couch is. I'm pretty comfortable. I might just stay here. So no, this is great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate
thank you
it.
for joining me here. I absolutely appreciate it. As for the interview, that is pretty much all I have to say.
Okay.
Again, thank you very much for coming. I'm going to be bumping it over to our casters now, who are going to get you started on the action for tonight. Our Vandal varsity team for Valorant is going to be playing the Sooners again. We are playing the Sooners as we did last night for Rainbow Six. Certainly going to be a fun time, but I would not like to steal too much of the time away from the guys who are going to be running over the action for you. This is Kaz, Phoenix, and Dan Ewart from the Vandal Analyst Corner, wishing you a good rest of your night.
Go Vandals.